Have you ever wondered why some people always seem to get what they want, influence others effortlessly, or leave a lasting impression without even trying? The truth is, most of these people aren't superhuman. They're just secretly using psychological tricks every single day. And once you understand these subtle, powerful techniques, you'll see them everywhere. And more importantly, you can start using them yourself. Today, we're diving into the most powerful psychological tricks that are used daily, often without you even realizing it. Let's start with one of the oldest tricks in the book, the power of mirroring. Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and noticed yourself unconsciously copying their gestures, posture, or tone of voice? That's no accident. It's called mirroring, and it's a psychological trick used to build trust and make people feel connected to you instantly. When someone subtly mirrors your actions, it triggers your brain to think, "Hey, this person is just like me," and suddenly you feel more comfortable, more open, and more likely to say yes to their suggestions. Smart salespeople, negotiators, and even friends use this all the time because it works. The next time you want someone to feel at ease or listen to you, try subtly mirroring their body language or speech patterns. You'll be surprised at how naturally it works. Now, let's talk about the foot-in-the-door technique. It's a classic psychological strategy that works almost every time. Imagine you're trying to get someone to do you a favor. Instead of asking for the big favor right away, you start with a small request, something tiny that's easy for them to say yes to. Once they agree to the small favor, they're far more likely to agree to something bigger. Why? Because once someone starts saying yes, their brain wants to stay consistent. Humans are wired to follow a pattern of behavior, so one small yes can lead to a much bigger one. Marketers, advertisers, and even politicians use this all the time without you noticing. And here's the beauty. You can use it too, not just to get favors, but to gradually influence positive habits in yourself and others. Next up is the scarcity principle. You've seen it countless times in online shopping limited time offers. Countdown timers, or phrases like "only a few left in stock." It's not just marketing hype. Scarcity is a powerful psychological trigger. When something seems limited, our brain immediately assigns it more value. We fear missing out, and that fear drives our decisions faster than logic ever could. Scarcity taps into a basic survival instinct. We want what we think we might lose. The trick isn't just in sales, it's everywhere, from social media trends to career opportunities. Learning to recognize scarcity tactics helps you make smarter decisions. But you can also use scarcity ethically to motivate yourself or inspire urgency in your own goals. Then there's the social proof effect. Humans are social creatures, and we often look to others to figure out how we should behave. That's why you're more likely to try a restaurant that's packed with people or follow an online trend that everyone else is doing. This psychological trick is so strong that it influences buying decisions, group behavior, and even personal choices. Celebrities, influencers, and brands exploit social proof constantly, showing us that if everyone else is doing it, we should too. But the fascinating part is that you can flip it around by demonstrating credibility. Popularity or expertise in subtle ways, you can influence how people perceive you without saying a word. People follow signals, they follow patterns, and social proof is one of the strongest signals there is. Another subtle, yet insanely powerful psychological trick is framing. The way information is presented can completely change how people perceive it. For example, if I told you a surgery has a 90% survival rate, you'd probably feel confident. But if I told you it has a 10% mortality rate, suddenly it feels risky, even though the facts are the same. Framing is everywhere from marketing campaigns to political speeches because it shapes perception. You can use framing in your own life to communicate more persuasively. Present your ideas in a way that highlights the positives, reduces perceived risk, and emphasizes benefits. And you'll notice a much stronger impact on how people respond to you. Let's move on to a trick that can instantly grab attention, the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains have a strange tendency to remember unfinished tasks or incomplete stories far better than completed ones. That's why cliffhangers work so well in TV shows and why people feel compelled to finish reading a book once they've started. Marketers and content creators use this trick daily, creating teasers, previews, and suspenseful stories to keep us hooked. But the Zeigarnik effect isn't just a tool for entertainment, it's also a way to make your ideas more memorable. If you want people to remember what you're saying, leave a little curiosity gap. Hint at something, but don't give it all away. Our minds will do the rest, holding on to your message far longer than if you spoon-fed every detail. Then there's the power of reciprocity. Simply put, people are wired to return favors. If someone does something nice for you, whether it's giving a gift, a compliment, or even a helpful tip, your brain feels a subtle pressure to reciprocate. This principle is the backbone of human relationships, sales, and even negotiation. Charities know this and often send small gifts before asking for donations. But it's not manipulative if used ethically. Helping someone genuinely creates goodwill, strengthens bonds, and encourages cooperation naturally. When you give first, without expecting immediate returns, you'll often find people going out of their way to support you in return. Another fascinating psychological trick is anchoring. This is the tendency for our brains to rely heavily on the first piece of information we receive when making decisions. For instance, if a car is initially listed at $40,000 and then dropped to $35,000, we perceive it as a great deal because the first number set the anchor. Anchoring is used constantly in negotiations, pricing strategies, and even everyday conversations without most people noticing. Once you understand it, you can influence perception, or at the very least, avoid being unconsciously manipulated yourself. One trick that affects almost everyone daily, but often goes unnoticed, is the power of compliments, but with a twist. People don't just like compliments, they respond even more strongly to specific, genuine praise. Generic compliments like "you're great" are nice, but they rarely create a strong emotional response. Instead, notice the small details about someone's behavior, achievements, or choices, and acknowledge them authentically. "I noticed how patient you were during that meeting. That was impressive." Creates a far stronger connection than generic flattery. Specific compliments trigger pride, gratitude, and trust, which are all powerful emotions in social influence. Have you ever noticed how stories are more persuasive than facts alone? That's because of the psychological trick of narrative transportation. When you tell a story, the listener's brain becomes immersed in it. They picture the events, feel the emotions, and identify with the characters. This is why storytelling is so effective in advertising, leadership, and communication. Numbers and data are important, but stories create a deeper emotional connection. If you want to influence, inspire, or motivate, learning to weave your message into a compelling narrative will make your words unforgettable. Another trick you might not realize you're experiencing every day is the use of subtle priming. Priming is when exposure to one stimulus influences your response to another. For example, seeing words related to kindness can make someone act more generously without them even realizing it. Advertisers, educators, and psychologists use priming to subtly influence behavior and decisions. The more you notice these triggers, the more control you have over your own behavior. And the better you can use them to shape your interactions with others. Then there's the psychological power of commitment and consistency. Once we commit to something, even in a small way, we feel pressure to follow through. This principle explains why people hang on to goals, stick to promises, or even continue with habits they publicly declared. It's also why public commitments can be so effective. When someone states their intentions out loud, they're more likely to act in alignment with it. You can leverage this for yourself and others. Make small commitments, declare intentions, and watch how consistency drives behavior in surprising ways. And finally, we have the principle of curiosity itself. Human beings are naturally curious, and curiosity is one of the most powerful motivators. Advertisers, educators, and content creators tap into this every day with open loops, questions, or statements that spark intrigue. Curiosity motivates learning, engagement, and exploration, and it can be used ethically to inspire action. If you frame your message to spark curiosity, people are far more likely to engage, remember, and take the next step. The truth is, these psychological tricks are everywhere. From the way you're sold products online to how leaders motivate teams, how influencers gain followers, and even how friendships and relationships form, they're all driven by these subtle mental shortcuts and principles. The more you understand them, the more you realize how often your decisions and reactions are influenced by factors you might not consciously notice. But here's the empowering part. Once you know how they work, you can use them intentionally, ethically, and effectively. You can influence your own behavior, improve your relationships, and even achieve your goals faster than you ever thought possible. And now that you know these tricks, it's time to take action. Notice them in your daily life. Apply the ones that feel natural. Start with small changes, like mirroring a friend, giving a specific compliment, or telling a story instead of just giving facts. Experiment with what works for you, and watch how people respond. The most powerful psychological tricks aren't about manipulation. They're about understanding human behavior so you can communicate better, connect deeper, and influence positively. If you found this video helpful and want to discover more secrets about human behavior, psychology, and personal growth, make sure to subscribe to our channel. HumanX, we bring you the best insights into why people do what they do, and how you can use that knowledge to live smarter, stronger, and more fulfilled. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. And join our growing community of curious minds who are unlocking the power of the human mind every single day. Remember, the world is full of subtle influences, but once you see them, you're no longer a passive participant. You become the observer, the strategist, and the one who can intentionally shape your reality. Use these tricks wisely, ethically, and watch your life change in ways you never imagined. Now, go out there, start noticing the invisible forces around you, and harness them to become the most influential version of yourself.